Welcome. I guess I'm the one that is coming. So my name is Rafael Blanco. I have a weird accent because I'm from Spain. However, my long name is Rafael López de San Román Blanco. In Spain, we have two last names, the one from the father, the one from the mother. But when I came here to the United States, it gets complicated, right? So I go just by Rafael Blanco. I'm an artist. I'm a public artist nowadays, and painting is my passion. I heard that you guys are in the art class, and I actually heard really good things about you. And it seems that your teacher is impressed with your work. That's what he told me yesterday. Okay, so I offer myself to come and talk to you guys. I live in Chicago, and I also teach at Elmhurst University. I teach painting, drawing, and art history. For me, being here, being at a place where I have never been before, where I can get to paint, where I can be every day painting for maybe 10 to 12 hours, it is really a dream. It is a lot of hard work. I actually don't stop to eat. I don't stop like for a break. I have my music, and I just paint. I don't like the end result of the painting. The mural is never what I think it should be, but it is the act of painting that it motivates me. It is the act of being there, actually painting. That's where my mind goes somewhere else. I heard that many people meditate. I have tried many times, and I can't. Because my mind is going and thinking many different things, but when I'm actually painting, I feel relaxed, calm. All my worries are left behind. I have a family, I have a lot of responsibilities, but when I get the chance to paint, it is my time. It is my sacred time. So that is really why I became an artist. I remember the day that I told my father, I think I want to become an artist. He almost had a heart attack. He came from the military, so that was not what he was expecting. And I understand. I am a father today, so I probably will say the same to my kid. Say, what are you doing? But I told my father, well, I just don't really see myself doing anything else. I really like painting. My mother understood right away. For some reason, women tend to understand these things much quicker. But when my father saw, after a few years, that I was taking this path seriously, I was not good yet, my parents became my best followers, my best helpers. My father went from being mad at me for becoming an artist to be my best helper. He was helping me. He was varnishing my paintings. He was framing my paintings with me. So that was amazing to see how my father changed. Today, I teach as well. And many of my students have a similar story. Because being an artist is not something secure. It's not something that you get out and you get a job right away. So it is scary. It is very scary. However, it is very rewarding. It is unbelievably rewarding. So I actually came to the United States with a tennis scholarship. I used to play tennis. My dream as a kid was to become a professional tennis player. I wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I came here, I played Division I, but again, I was not number 10 in the world. That's what I wanted to be. When I went to school, I took my first painting class. because I was always interested in painting and drawing. But tennis was always kind of like in the way. I remember that my first painting class, my first day, my teacher was laughing at me by the way that I was holding the color palette. I didn't even know how to hold the color palette. I didn't know how to hold a brush. I just knew that I liked it. But all of my classmates most of my classmates knew how to paint, were already ahead of the game. But it didn't matter to me because I was interested in it. He was really helpful, actually. He actually taught me really good techniques, and he showed me what the secret is. And the secret is practice. I know that you may have heard this 1,000 times, right? Practice makes perfection. I'm not sure about perfection, but I can assure you that it makes you better. The more that you practice, the better that you are going to get at it. And again, I know that you guys have heard this before. However, in my case, it's true. All those paintings that I did in Painting 1 and in Drawing 1, they are locked away at my parents' house, somewhere where no one else is going to see them. At the time, I thought I was doing well. I was excited, and I wanted to show my family, my friends, what I'd done. A few years later, I was looking back at them. I'm like, was I blind when I was looking at that? Seriously, that is not as good as I remember at all, okay? So that progression is what it intrigues me. Every time that I paint, I look back and say, I am getting better. And that is very rewarding as well. Let me stop for a second, because we are talking about art. What is art? How can you define what art is? It's a question, so just a brave soul can help me out here.
The way I would describe it is that it's extremely subjective. It's just people's feelings on paper. It's just different types of creativity to show emotion.
Okay, great. So I think you nail it at the end. It's a way of expression, right? It's a way of expression that has changed. Art has changed throughout history. The art of the Renaissance is not the same art that we have today. The purpose of art has changed. During the Renaissance in the 1400s, artists were creating realistic art for a reason. Why? Why was the purpose of art to create realistic interpretations of life? What has changed from that time until here? Well, a lot has changed. A lot of things have happened, but there is one thing, one invention that has changed the purpose of art tremendously.
Camera.
The camera, awesome. The camera was invented in the 1800s, and that became a big deal. All of a sudden, the painters and drawers that had a job and that their purpose was to realistically create a portrait for the king, for the dukes, all of a sudden, they have a competition. They have a camera that can do their job in minutes in an objective way. You were talking about subjectivity, right? So no matter how hard you try, when you are trying to paint or draw or sculpt something realistic, you have a handwriting. You have style. You have something that is in you that maybe you don't even see it. It is your touch. It is your subjective touch. The camera is a mechanical process. A photograph is a mechanical process. So how can you compete with something so real, so objective, and at least the purpose of painting changed. It changed forever. Actually, there is a famous quote by a famous French artist, saying, from now on, painting is dead. He was not right completely, but definitely the purpose of art, especially the purpose of painting, really changed. That's why nowadays we have an array of art, of types of art. We have conceptual art, we have installation art, we have new media art. Today is about the experience. It's about going to a gallery, going to a museum, and the viewer is part of the art itself. Before, you were supposed to admire art from a distance. What contemporary artists are doing is they want you in it, and they want you to complete the work. And that gets very conceptual, very kind of like, you must have some knowledge of art in order to really fully grasp it. And that becomes problematic. It becomes problematic for me. I'm an art teacher, I'm an artist, I've been around art all my life, and still when I go to the galleries, when I go to openings, half of the time, I am lost. I'm lost at, it takes me a while to get the concept. It takes me a while to get what the artist is trying to do. And I go, this, if it's difficult for me, I cannot imagine for someone that is not around art. Why don't we make art that is accessible? Why don't we make art that is important for everyone and not just for the elite that knows about art? This is subjective. What I'm telling you, this is my opinion now, which I don't usually teach that when I'm at the university. When I'm at the university, I'm like super objective. I don't tell what my thoughts are. But since I don't teach here, I can tell. I can give you my insights. I was a studio painter for almost 20 years. What that means is I was working in the studio by myself, controlling the lighting, controlling the time that I was going, controlling the canvases that I was making. I was interested in painting the classical way, taking months, maybe a year to complete a painting, to make it beautiful. After 20 years of practicing, doing exhibitions, selling paintings, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. I worked maybe like 2 years for an exhibition. You have the day of the opening, and your exhibition is there for a month, and then it's gone. Only people that went to that exhibition were influenced by your work. And then if you sold a painting, that painting is gone. Someone bought it, it's at their house, but that's it. That's as far as it went. I never knew about public art until one day in 2014, I was invited to a mural marathon, 24-hour mural marathon, which meant that they chose 7 artists to paint 24 hours a 20 by 20 wall. Each of us had one wall. There were 7 walls, and this was in downtown Reno, Nevada. They closed the street, and we had 24 hours to complete a 20 by 20 wall. I went in and I accepted as a challenge. For me, I have always admired murals and public art, but I was a studio painter. I was a slow painter. So I went for the fun and say, okay, I want to do this design, see if I can paint realistically and finish in 24 hours. I knew that I was going to be there for 24 hours. Not because I wanted to, because I needed to, if I wanted to complete something. Believe me, I was there 24 hours straight. I actually ate a sandwich while I was painting. I couldn't rest. My mind was going 1,000 miles per hour. At the end, I mean, during the whole thing, there was a DJ, family, there were performances. It was a really cool event. It actually made you feel important. Kind of the TV crew was there, the newspapers, was a big deal. For me, when I finished, I was really tired. And I looked at the piece and said, okay, well, it's better than I thought I could do in 24 hours, but it's by any stretch as good as my studio painting, right? But I was captivated. I was hooked by one thing, and that is that I was not by myself. My art was not private, was public. It wasn't until that day that I really understood the difference between public art and studio art. I always knew, yes, public art is in public places. Sure, great. But it wasn't until I experienced public art that the hammer dropped on me and said, okay, wake up. This is public art. You cannot control anything. If it rained, it rained. If a storm was passing through, sorry, you only have 24 hours. So whatever happened, you have a deadline. And that, my friends, it is a really good thing to have, a deadline. I don't know about you, but if I don't have a deadline, hey, no worries, I get it done tomorrow. But if I have a deadline, I have a purpose. I have a necessity to make it done. If not, things will not get done around the house. It was at that moment that I became enlightened by public art because of the experience. People were looking at me when I was painting, and for the first hour, I was petrified for every brushstroke that I was doing. I was almost covering myself while I was painting because I didn't want people to see my brushstrokes in case I was doing mistakes. After an hour of being so tight, I'm like, dude, you have to let it go. If not, this is not going anywhere. And that's where I started to make bigger brushstrokes and not forget, but being part of it. Embrace that anything can happen. Anything good, anything bad can happen. And you just have to adapt to the situation. From that moment on, I knew that something in my brain changed, and I've been transitioning since then to public art. It is that experience what it calls me. When I'm making a mural, I'm not taking that mural with me to my house. Believe me, I have a storage unit full of paintings that I never sold. I don't even want to see them. We are all very critical of our work. So I actually have one painting at home, and that's because my wife begged me. But I don't want to see my work because I don't see it with rested eyes. For me, making murals it makes sense. I put my soul, I put my 10 days in it, full days, and then I let it go. I hit that deadline, I make that deadline, I make my best out of it. I make sure that I'm talking to people that are coming like to see the mural. I want to know the people that are going to see the mural for the rest of their lives. And that is a big responsibility. The mural that I'm making right now are 6 women that were from Salem. They are still living family, relatives of these 6 women. Can you believe how much responsibility that is? We are honoring the life of 6 amazing women. And I was the lucky one to be chosen, but that comes with a price. It comes with responsibility, right? Being up for the challenge and say, I hope I'm doing it okay, because it means a lot for the city. It means a lot for the families. It means a lot for a lot of people. So I would like to come back to Salem, and I would like to feel welcome and not the opposite. I want to make sure that when I'm leaving on Sunday, that I did my job as good as I could, and that people feel the same way. I have painted in California, Nevada, Colorado, Idaho, Illinois, Maryland, now in Indiana. Next week, I'm going back to Illinois, and then I'm painting another mural. Very different, a very different purpose, very different idea, very different concept. So maybe you are thinking, how do you travel to all these places? How do you do these things? It is complicated. It is not like, hey, I want to go to paint to California. It takes a while to get here. It gets a while to get to Salem and paint for 10 days. So you apply. Well, I apply almost every week to opportunities. It is amazing what the internet does. It gives you access to an amazing array, an amazing list of opportunities. I hear all the time, well, there are not enough opportunities like in art. I'm like, that is because you are not looking. There are exhibitions, there are commissions. It is crazy the amount of work that there is. Seriously, you just have to look. So one of my jobs is to actually apply. It takes me 2, 3, 4, 5 hours to maybe apply to one. But I make sure that every week I put some time out of my life to keep applying to things. If I apply to 100 things, the more that I apply, the more chances that I get to get something. I'm here talking to you guys today as a successful artist, but you cannot imagine how many rejections I have gotten, and I still get. 2 days ago, I got a rejection from Philadelphia. 4 days ago, I got a rejection from Texas. I get 80 to 85% rejections out of the 100% that I apply. And that, my friends, is key, to not take it personal. They are looking for specific things, and you just have to keep applying. Every time that I apply, I get better at applying. And actually, I'm going to tell you a secret that I just learned. I learned that one of the reasons why I was chosen for this project is because the committee that was interviewing me were impressed that I was not using projection. I go by the grid. I actually draw with the chalk, and I do the outline, and then I paint. The people that I was against, they were projecting. And that, to them, was something that it was important. I didn't know that. But now I know. So that way, next time that I have an interview, I will make sure that I throw that in there, in case it's important for them as well. So what I'm saying is, I've been doing commissions for a while, and I'm still learning on how to apply to these things. Obviously, I want to keep traveling. Traveling is amazing to get to new places, like to new people, but especially to have your art display and that you are doing something that is special and memorable for a city. United States has 50 states. It's a really big country. Where I'm from, Spain is a small country. It's actually smaller than Texas. Okay, so it's kind of like a state for you guys. Our opportunities are less than 50. You guys have 50 states. your opportunities here multiply. You guys speak the same language. You guys are under one flag, under one identity. That is amazing, because you can apply far away and you are still in the same country. Back home, it's difficult. Every state, every country has their own traditions, their own language, their own rules, so you cannot really apply to everything. Here, we have a lot of opportunities. If I was a student, because I've been in your shoes, I was in high school, obviously, I was lost. I didn't know what to do with my life. I was, oh man, I'm going to do that jump. I wish that I knew how important failure is. I think we live in a society where we are supposed to win, where we are supposed to be winners, where we are looking at movies and they are always clapping at the end because you won the game, right? I don't know about your life, but mine is not that way. It doesn't end that way every day. That is not what happens. It's a roller coaster of emotions. It's a roller coaster of things that happen, of mixed things, amazing things, bad things, and things in between. That is what life is to me. What I'm trying to say is, it is important to lose. Way, way more important than to win. Losing makes you better. Losing makes you want to be better. Losing teaches you how to win. I also used to be a coach, and this is my coach side, right? I'm saying, oh no, like we have to do that. I didn't prepare a presentation for you guys. I think this happened yesterday, actually, so things happen. I was adapting to the situation because I was talking to someone. I said, well, if they're talking about the mural, I'll be happy to come and talk to the students. So I'll be happy for you guys to ask me questions. And I think you guys have a set of questions for me. Okay, all right.
All right, so would you say that the 24-hour marathon was the point that made you want to gravitate towards making outdoor art?
Definitely, yes. And when you say outdoor art, so you mean public art? Because there is public art that is indoor, right? So yes, that is definitely the time that that mural marathon made me realize that not that I've been doing the wrong thing for like 20 years, but it was a new door open for me. And that experience of being outside painting and influencing anyone who was passing by, not only people that was coming to that exhibition, anyone who was passing by was being influenced. And that doesn't mean that they were influenced in a good way. Many people are not going to like your work. In fact, many people don't like my work. And that is important. We're all subjective. We are all different, and that is fine. Public art is not only about making a visual statement, it's about improving, about making an intention of beautifying. And beautifying doesn't mean to just make it more beauty. Beautifying makes an improvement for me. Okay.
What is your process in developing a large-scale mural?
All right, so the process has changed throughout the years. What I have seen is many of the muralists nowadays come from street art. Do you guys know the difference between public art and street art? Can someone guess what the difference is?
Public art is commissioned.
Public art is commissioned. Not always, but you are close. So street art is not commissioned?
Not legally.
Okay. So what if I did the mural that I'm doing without being commissioned? What if I came here to Salem anonymously? No one knows about it, and I start painting that mural, and that happens in a few days. Would that be public art or street art? Everyone is looking at you, by the way. Because I think you know the answer, no? It is a street art, okay? So if I don't have permission, so commission means that you are getting paid like to do something. But if you have the permission by the city, by the owner of the wall, by someone, you have the permission to do your art, it becomes public art. If you don't ask for permission, it is a street art. Not all street art is illegal, not all of it, but a good majority of street art is illegal. It could be the same thing. It could be the same painting, it could be the same sculpture, it could be the same artwork. It's just that the process is different. So what I was trying to say is many of my friends come from the street art. Really few of us come from the academic studio art. And we meet in the middle. We are now for the last 10 years, the mural world has been going bigger and bigger, more impressive, better, because people are starting to mix the street art and studio art techniques. When I was growing up, murals were kind of boring, were educational, which education is great, but visually they were not interesting. They were telling a story. Now, there is a lot of impressive art. Have you guys seen the work of Cobra? K-O-B-R-A. He's a Brazilian muralist. My goodness. You look at one of his pieces, and I can assure you that you're going to go in awe. He is one of the people that I really look up to. How can you make something so in a humongous scale in such a beautiful way? Going back to your question, sorry. So going back to your question, it's a long process. I have changed my way of creating murals. When I was doing the mural marathon, I was trying to paint like I was painting in the studio, and that takes a long time, and it doesn't really translate the same way. You are not looking at a canvas. You are looking at a blank space. So what I'm doing nowadays is I first start with a background. Well, first I start with application, then I start with a design. For this case in particular, there were 3 finalists out of 200 artists that apply for the selection. So those 3 finalists, we were asked to create a design. And that means that they give you the dimensions of the wall. And in this case, they gave us the concept and say, we want to honor the life of these 6 women. So they gave us a bunch of photos. And the photos are, some of them are really, really, really low quality. I'm actually scared of the last portrait because the quality is just, it's a really old photo. I mean, I cannot see anything. So that is when my subjectivity and like creation has to really pay off. So we created this, well, each of us created a different design. We were invited to see each other's interviews, which I thought that was cool but weird. And I took advantage of that. I was surprised how the other 2 finalists didn't. I'm like, what a unique opportunity to actually see your competition at their best. Because I want to keep improving, I want to keep getting jobs, I want to see what they are doing, that it maybe work. So I sat down, and this is like through Zoom, right? I sat down through their interviews, and I was listening very careful how they were presenting themselves, how they were explaining their past work, and the things that the committee was interested in. So out of those 3, I was lucky to get the chosen one. So then I came here. I worked with the background on Friday, and I have learned how to use a spray gun. Spray gun is one of those things that you paint houses with. Those are super fun. They are super quick. You just put in the bucket, and it is so expressive and it's so perfect how the paint comes out. So it took me 1 day to do the background. Okay, so I have like 6 stripes. So 2 coats for each of those stripes. Then once I have the background, then I start really painting. I start really with the form, trying to bring those figures alive. So the key for me is math. I know, I never knew that I was going to use math so much in my life. You know, I was one of those that said, come on, why do I have to keep learning math if I'm not going to use it? I'm going to be an artist. Seriously, I am using proportions all day long. I am measuring. I mean, it's just awesome that I have a decent background in math because it really helps me out. I have friends that they don't have a background in math and they do everything like with the tablets and say, oh, no, because I don't know how to do the grid. I'm like, it is not that difficult to do a grid. You just have to measure, like make a proportion. Let me explain. Oh, no. I don't like math. I'm like, it is fast. Anyways, I do the grid. I use the chalk. Chalk is really good because it's very temporary. You can create lines, and then I make mistakes all the time. So while no one is looking, I erase like that, and that line is gone. So once I have a really easy outline, really simple outline, I start painting. But I let the background be the middle ground. For me, it's about value contrast. It's about dark and light. For a painter, for me, that is the key. If you understand value contrast, I think you got it. So I just work with value contrast all day, and knowing where to put the paint is the most important part. It is not the amount of paint, but it's knowing where to put it.
What is most rewarding about your job?
The most rewarding about my job are the connections that I have created throughout the years. I was painting in Roseville, California, at a Mexican bakery. And I was there for another week, and I was painting a Mexican theme of a mural. Every morning, the owner of the bakery will come out and bring me a bag full of Mexican bread right out of the oven. I mean, it was so fresh that it was like almost burning. I have never tasted such an amazing bread in my life, and that was part of the process. Then after a few days, I went to the house. Today, after 6 years, we're still friends. That was the first time that when I went back home after that week, I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, can you believe that I actually miss the people that I just met? I thought that you only miss people that you really have known for a while, like your family, your friends, right? But not people that you just meet for a week. And especially like the older that you get, that is more difficult. And that was the first time that it happened to me, that I'm like, I miss them. I want to go and see them again. So it is not about the painting. It is not about the actual work that it drives me and that is the most satisfying. It's about that connection that I never had when I was a studio painter. And I wish that I have known that before.
What do you think of the subject matter of the mural you are working on here?
What do I think of the subject matter? I think that the key of the subject matter, obviously, is historical. We are talking about the past. We are honoring the lives of 6 women that were very significant. However, I was not interested in just doing a historical painting. I was not interested in just looking through a lens of the past. When I was designing, when I was in the computer, when I was at the drawing board, I was thinking, how can I make something historical and yet contemporary? How can I make something that it talks about the past in the right way, but that the contemporary, that people nowadays are going to be visually interesting. I think for me, public art needs to be eye-catching. It needs to be something that you see and that you have to see it, that it draws your attention. This is not the case always. There are some murals that blend in the landscape, and that is really cool. But for me, I want to make a statement. I want to make a visual statement. I want people to pass by and that they have to look. It is a must. So that's why I use the color, that's why I use the design, and finding the balance between keeping the integrity of the past with the nuances of the contemporary world. That is where I try to blend, and sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not as successful, but at least that is my purpose. Okay. Yes?
What's your favorite composition you've ever come up with, and why is it your favorite?
Okay, great. I'm going to show you really quick. So by the way, this is my website. You guys are welcome to see it. So this is what I was given at the University of Nevada, Reno. This is where I did my MFA, which is the Masters of Fine Arts. They actually called me last year, and they told me that they wanted to do something about diversity. What a theme, what a fragile concept, what a risky concept to do in the right way. I'm from Spain. My wife is from Mexico. Our kids were born here. We breathe the diversity. And for me, when I came to the United States, it blew me away how different everyone was. I'm in love with diversity, but also brings a lot of problems as well. So I was given this 80-feet wall, okay? The tallest that I've been given. And I designed what I thought they were not going to like. When I saw the design to my wife, she was like, there is no way that the university is going for something so bold. You cannot imagine, as soon as I saw them the design, they were like, we love it. We want you here next month. I had to read that email several times. You know when you see something and you go like, no, okay, so that's not possible. I really, really thought that I was putting my dream out there, say, okay, this is what I would do with this architectural frame. For me, this mural is super site-specific. I was using the structure of the wall. It is an intricate wall. It is a weird wall that it was coming out. And they told me, you can use this wall however you want. You don't need to paint it all. You can just paint part of it. We want to see your idea. As soon as I saw the wall, I saw those eyes. For me, eyes are amazing. They tell who we are, and yet they're so similar in a sense. We are all different, and yet we're all so similar at the same time. That unity, that variety within unity, it is what I'm interested in, because that is life for me. So I was up in this 80-feet boom high, through high winds, through rain, through lightning, through a fire that it was kind of like the smoke was coming out. I did this in 2.5 weeks by myself. And it was, up to the date, it was the most challenging, but it is my favorite in the sense because I was given a wall that is unique. It is not a flat wall. It is a really weird wall, and I did something very site-specific. My wife doesn't like it that much, so again, that's where the subjectivity comes in. But for me, It's about the concept that is so important nowadays, and is my alma mater. This is the first public art that has ever been done at the university. So having that call from my place where I went to school to do my Master's of Fine Arts, I was almost in tears. I mean, it's just like, oh, by the way, they first called Cobra. Okay, so I was the second picked. When I found out that I was the second pick, that I was the shadow of Cobra, I was super excited. I'm like, what? I am your second pick? After Cobra? I mean, Cobra for me is just like the master. I'm like, wow, that means a lot. That is amazing. So when I went, was right like when the pandemic was there, still is. When I was leaving my house, I felt something, and I told my wife, I'm about to do something amazingly great or something amazingly bad. If I was talking before about responsibility, imagine here, going back where everyone is going to know you for a while. This is a 20,000 people campus, huge campus. This is in the middle of it. It's in downtown. It's a big deal. So I felt, but what happens when I'm painting? That disappears. Once I stop painting, once I see it, then it's like, oh, wow, okay. But as soon as I go back to it, it's just magic. It's just, all that disappears. Any other great questions? Thank you so much for having me, guys. I hope that I just hope that I wasn't like super boring for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.